Howdy folks, Timber Drifter here. So I'm gonna title this video Encountering a Codger in the Wild. Codger. If you misread that and thought it said cougar, or thought I misspelled it and meant cougar, I didn't. I mean codger. So if you're here looking for an exciting story about wildlife encounters, it's not the right video. It's about an old man. A pipe smoking old man. So I'm sitting here on one of the properties that I take care of, getting around to the final cleanup here, splitting wood all day. Smoking some half and half mixed with Carter Hall, which I call that blend Old Codger, which is kind of fitting. Pipe's almost done. Older Peterson. So, I hardly ever see other pipe smokers in person, in reality, here where I'm at. Very rare. There's a couple old guys I see smoking their pipes in their cars. Never seen them smoking their pipe walking around to be able to identify who they are. I'm pretty, pipe and tobacco centric. I like pipes and tobacco. I like talking to people that like pipes and tobacco. So, and to be a pipe smoker, for the most part, you kind of have to be a little weird these days. It's not the norm anymore, So anyway, the last few weeks around here, it's been somewhat of a drought of pipe cleaners. There's only 3 places that sell them. And they're all the Dills brand. There's only 3 places that sell them around here. 2 of the grocery stores have recently quit carrying them, or any pipe related anything. And I've been running pretty lean on pipe cleaners, down to using some of them that aren't quite as dirty, than what I would normally have thrown away already. So a couple of days ago when I walked into the grocery store, I saw there were 2 bright, shiny yellow, brand new racks of Dills pipe cleaners. So I went right over there. Had to wait in line for a while, and I bought 5 packs. They're $2 a piece, and 5 packs of those will last me a good long while. I didn't want to buy all of them. So anyway, I get my 5 packs, and I'm excited, and I turn around from the counter, and there's a little old man, kind of bent over, and he's kind of in my space. I almost ran into him when I turned around. I held my pipe cleaners up like that, and he goes, "You didn't buy all of them, did you?" No. I said, I got a bunch more right there. And he walked, shuffled past me. His head was, I'm not that tall of a guy, but he was pretty bent over, and his head was down like below my chin level. And I caught a whiff of like stale pipe smoke, which is what I figured how I must smell, but I can't tell. And this guy's a pipe smoker. So I kind of hung out while he was making his purchase there, and he turned back around. He kind of looked me up one side and down the other, like, "What the hell are you still doing standing here, buddy?" I said, "Oh, you're a pipe smoker, huh?" And he goes, "Yeah." So, what kind of tobacco do you like to smoke? "Well, I smoke a lot of different stuff." And then he kind of took off, and I thought, all right. That's been my experience with some of the old codgers I've run into over the years. They don't want to talk about it. It's not interesting to them. So I figured I just missed out, So I went and did the rest of my shopping. And when I was leaving, I noticed he was sitting on a bench under the awning in front of the grocery store. And this being the Northwoods, there's all kinds of log everything. The whole front of the grocery store is like looks like a log cabin. Great huge log pillars, and the bench itself is probably like a 30-inch pine log, split and made into a bench and heavily shellacked and stained, and all that. So I sat down on the bench, a little ways off from him. He kind of looked over at me, and he was smoking a bulldog pipe. But I pulled out a corn cob in my pouch and loaded up. Started having a smoke, and after a while, he kind of looked over at me. He goes, "Oh, you're a pipe smoker too, huh?" Yeah. He didn't say anything for a while. I said, "What are you smoking?" He told me he was smoking Captain Black. Said he bought it in a tub, and he was mixing it with Prince Albert. So the Captain Black's just too damn sweet, and you can't hardly find any pipe tobacco around here anymore. He told me he tried smoking some of that rolling tobacco that they call pipe tobacco, and he said it was just crap. So we got to talking after a while, talking about mostly pipes and tobacco, and he kind of told me a little bit about himself, and I told him a little bit about myself, and I could tell he was not totally comfortable with me talking to him. Maybe it's just the way that I look. I don't know. Those old guys like that often have problems with beards, and I mean, I had my work clothes on. I was pretty dirty. Maybe he's just not used to people talking to him. I don't know. Anyway, he told me he started smoking a pipe in 1950. Oh. Well, how old are you? 96. That's pretty shocking to me. This guy's hunched over and definitely elderly. He's still getting around. And as far as I could tell, completely clear-headed. Well, he ended up telling me that he joined the Navy in 1950. Which, if I'm doing my math right, he would have been around 27 years old. He told me he was in the Navy for 28 years. I'm not a military guy. I don't know. I never can seem to remember how all the various ranks work, but he told me what he was when he retired. But he didn't really retire. He became a postal carrier in Chicago. And he worked another, I think he told me 12 years as a postal carrier, mail carrier in Chicago. And he got to telling me about all the old pipe shops in Chicago and how he used to go in there, and he never really bought the expensive pipes. He said he mostly bought the basket pipes. And he said he smoked nothing but cobs for quite a while. And he doesn't hardly ever smoke cobs anymore. He said basically what he was saying is these things have a way of coming and going, different trends. He never smoked the same tobacco all the time. He would try new things. Or he'd smoke something for a while and get tired of it. Like he told me what he'd been doing with the Captain Black and Prince Albert. He said he'd get tired of that after a while, and he'd get some cherry pipe tobacco, and he'd mix that with either Prince Albert or Sir Walter Raleigh or Carter Hall, one of those. But he just you can't find pipe tobacco around here. Ever since the last pipe shop closed in the area, and there wasn't even much in there the last 10 years it was open. Just some lane products. But we both had a good laugh about how, both of us used to go down to that pipe shop and get our yearly bag of burnt gold, is what they called it there, but it was 1Q. Yeah, I said, all that stuff's getting pretty hard to find. And I asked him what his favorite tobaccos were, of the older stuff that he hasn't seen for years. And he couldn't really think of anything. I started just throwing some names out there. Um, and he said that he really enjoyed Edgeworth. He said he smoked Edgeworth for many, many years, along with other things. He said he liked some of the Dunhill blends, but not really. They were kind of expensive, and he didn't really like the campfire flavor all that much. And that being said, he also said that he loved walnut and smoked walnut for many years. I've never tried walnut, but I think it has a bit of Latake in it. Maybe I'm wrong. But Kentucky Club, he said there was a couple of different kinds of Kentucky Club apparently that he liked. And Barking Dog was one that he brought up, Model. And I asked him about Velvet, and he said, oh yeah, he'd always smoke Velvet when he could find it. Velvet and Edgeworth were always his two main ones. And then a lot of the pipe shop blends. So that's what he smoked for most of the time he was smoking, were blends from pipe shops. But he told me he smoked Lucky Strike cigarettes for 20 years while he was smoking a pipe, before he smoked a pipe even. And he told me he got off smoking cigarettes by smoking Dutch Masters cigars. And he said those damn things were so nasty, I just ended up going to the pipe full time. And I asked him how many pipes he smokes a day, and he kind of grunted and thought about it. And he said he wasn't sure. And he said it depended on if he slept at night or not. I just kind of pressed him a little bit. I said, could you narrow it down? And he said somewhere between 8 and 20. There's no way of knowing. But I'd ask him if I could interview him pretty early on. He said, no, I don't want to be on TV. I tried to explain that it wouldn't be for TV, that it'd be YouTube online. And I could tell his concept of what the internet is pretty vague. And in fact, he said he'd never even used, he said, kid, I never even used a typewriter. So, unfortunately, he wasn't interested in being interviewed. Not interested. Yeah, it was a very interesting conversation for me. But he told me that one of his grandkids had showed him last Christmas some people smoking pipes on their phone, which I assume he was talking about some of us here in the YTPC, I would imagine. And he said, they're all just kind of real prissy about it, real fussy about their pipes. I wonder who he was watching. As I fuss with my pipe here. He definitely had pretty good gurgles going in his pipes. But yeah, but I saw him smoking K. Woody Bulldog and a K. Woody Billiard with a pretty tall bowl. Said he had a lot of pipes that he hasn't even gotten out for many years. He's down to just a few. Not much tobacco, and I told him there's a lot of tobacco that you can order online from retailers online, and I tried to explain it. So there's even some match blends to a lot of the tobacco that we talked about that you might find that you like. I said I'd be happy to order that for you, and when I deliver it, you could pay me for it if you wanted to work it that way. And he got real kind of suspicious, you know. I could tell. I think he maybe thought I was trying to scam him or something, so I backed off of that. But I went out to my vehicle and I got several jars of tobacco in there, and I set him up with um, probably a couple ounces of Sutliff Ready Rub Match, which is a blend that I like. And he told me that he liked the McBaron tobaccos that he used to get at the pipe shop here that closed a couple of years ago, and he couldn't remember which ones he smoked. And I had a jar of roll cake in there, so I set him up with a bag of roll cake and a bag of Cornell and Deal Haunted Bookshop. And he was real happy about that. Shook my hand. So I asked him, to what do you attribute your good health into advanced old age? And he kind of chuckled. He said everybody asked him that. He thought about it for a little while. He had told me earlier that he was only on one medication for AFib. And he'd had quite a few skin cancers removed off of his back and chest. Otherwise, seemed fit as a fiddle. I am smoking ash here. So what he ended up coming up with, he said, I always eat a real big breakfast. Real big breakfast. It's good for you. Eat a lot in the morning. He said when he was working, sometimes he'd eat a sandwich and a cookie at lunch or something like that, but he never really was much for dinner. I asked him what he ate for breakfast, and he said, well, 3-4 pieces of toast with butter, a bunch of eggs, sausage or bacon, whatever they got, he said. Told me he'd lived through 3 marriages, and the first one he divorced, and the last 2 died on him. And he had kids from the last 2 marriages, I don't know if that's right or not. Doesn't matter. But so it was his kids and his grandkids and his great grandkids kind of kept him going. You know, I said a lot of them live around here, or they live in Chicago and come up here and visit. They kind of vacation at his house. And said he doesn't drink coffee or soda pop, hasn't since he was in his 30s, because he had ulcers, and it bothered him. He said he felt so much better when he quit drinking caffeine. He said everybody ought to quit drinking caffeine. And he looked around and he goes, everybody's overweight nowadays. Some of them are just plain fat, he said. It never used to be that way. So I think that's bad for everybody. He said he never quit moving until the last few years. Always used to go on walks. Always had a dog he'd take on walks until he had some skin cancers removed from his lower back, and his skin was too tight back there to be comfortable for much walking now. When we were talking about the caffeine and people being overweight, I said, well, what about all that smoking? Should be bad for you. And he chuckled again. He said, well, you gotta pick and choose what you're gonna do and not gonna do. And I said, pick your poisons. And he yeah, that's right. So somebody pulled up in a car to pick him up, and I scribbled down my name and phone number and wrote pipe tobacco guy under the phone number just in case. And I said, if you decide you want to order something online and see if you can get some more tobacco, give me a call. I said, I'll help you out. He shook my hand again and took off. I enjoyed visiting with him. It's pretty rare that I run into any other pipe smokers, period, let alone a 96-year-old pipe smoker who's been hard at it for, I don't know what that is, 69 or 70 years, something like that. Love to talk to the guy some more. Anyway, y'all take care. Get outside.